Friday. It's the first hour of Friday, so that means it's time for Brunch with Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. Senator Sanders, welcome.
Good to be with you, Tom.
It's great to be here in Vermont with you. How are you?
You got a nice day, and you're on a beautiful campus.
Indeed, it's true. It's absolutely
my wife wanted me to mention that she was president of Goddard, I think back in 1996 and 97, and she worked with the folks at the radio station there.
Oh, wow.
And she thought they did a great job. So
okay, great.
I want to mention that to them. And also to applaud you for not just coming to Vermont, but for focusing on alternative media. Because I think when we think about the many, many serious problems facing our country, we're not going to successfully grapple with them until we have a significantly expanded alternative media, until we have some impact on corporate media as well. Change does not take place unless we are seriously discussing the most important issues facing our country, and that happens far too rarely. So I applaud the folks there who are coming together to talk about media.
Thank you. So what's on your in your radar screen here, sir?
Let me trickle off some of the issues. There is the media now is talking a whole lot about the IRS and the IRS monitoring of conservative organizations. No question in my mind that the IRS is dead wrong. You can't treat in this country one group differently than you do the other. What everybody should know, however, is the root cause of this has to do with our absurd campaign finance laws, and in this case specifically the 501c4. And what that is about is allowing private individuals or corporations to pour huge amounts of money into the political process without disclosure. And what the IRS, and this is a congressional problem, should not have been left to the IRS, has to determine how much of that money is going to quote-unquote social welfare, whatever that means, and how much is going into the political process. It is a totally crazy and absurd situation. So I'm here to say that clearly the IRS is wrong. You don't go after one group and not another. Treat everybody equally. But we have got to get at the root of this absurd campaign finance situation, which has everything in the world to do with Citizens United, which has to be overturned. And at the very least, we need a disclosure act so that anyone who makes a sizable contribution into the political process, that person, that corporation is known, and that is not the case. The other issue is dealing with the tracking of phone calls made by AP reporters. Again, to my mind, that is dead wrong. And that takes us back to policies such as the USA Patriot Act, something that I very, very strongly opposed. And the issue here is that terrorism is a serious problem. We want our intelligence agencies to do everything they can to protect the American people. I believe absolutely that we can do that and protect the constitutional rights of the American people, not give government more power than they need. And the key issue here is whether a government agency says, well, I kind of think that this person may have been complicit or involved in some way with terrorism, and therefore we're going to go after them. We're going to track their phone calls. We're going to tap their phones, whatever it may be, get into their emails, rather than going to a third party, i.e. the courts, and saying, Judge, we have reason to believe. And the judge says, well, what are your grounds? And the judge says, no, you have no grounds at all, or you're right, go after them. But we need the judiciary involved in that in a much stronger way than the Patriot Act has allowed. So those are some of the issues out there. Now, the other issue that I was on the floor talking about this week is, in fact, the very, very good news, is that according to the Congressional Budget Office, the federal deficit is expected to shrink to $642 billion this year. Now, that's still a lot of money. We still have got to focus on it, on the deficit. But this is much, much less than what had originally been projected. When Obama came in just 5 years ago, we were looking at a deficit of something like $1.4 trillion. We've cut that in half. Now, what does that mean? It means that we still can focus on deficit, but also now is the time to focus on a more important problem, and that is unemployment in the United States of America, which is not at 7.5%, but really close to 14%, some 20 million people who are unemployed. Unemployment rates among kids, people of color, is much, much higher than that. So right now we have reason to celebrate the fact deficit has gone way down, and now it's time to focus on the crises facing the middle class, and what that's about is creating jobs, creating income, decent-paying jobs, making sure that kids can afford to go to college, rebuilding our infrastructure, transforming our energy system. So that's a very important issue. Ironically, Tom, I happen to be on the two of the committees that are right now in the midst of dealing with Republican obstructionism. Obama has nominated a fellow named Tom Perez, who I like. I think he's a good guy who can do a good job as Secretary of Labor. What the Republicans are trying to do is to defeat his nomination. There is also a big hullabaloo on that same Health, Education, Labor Committee dealing with the National Labor Relations Board. Without going into all of the issues here, some of our Republican friends would like to see the NLRB cease to function. And if they have fewer than 3 members, they only have 2 members, they will not be able to function. And what the NLRB does is protect the rights of workers in terms of collective bargaining. If a company fires a worker who's trying to organize a union, the NLRB provides that recourse. There are laws to protect that worker, but those laws cannot be enforced if the NLRB does not exist. If workers are fired unjustly, the NLRB is there as well. So it seems to me that what Republicans are trying to do in their continuous effort to obstruct any initiative that makes sense to working people is to create a dysfunctional or non-existent NLRB. And 5 nominees came before the board on Thursday. We've got to get them seated, and we will see what happens. Furthermore, in terms of the EPA, a woman named Gina McCarthy has been nominated by Obama. I think she's a strong nominee. The Republicans have thrown at her over 1,000 questions, boycotted the next to last meeting that we had. They were there on Thursday. I think we have approved. We got her out of committee. And now the issue is both with Perez, with the NLRB, with Gina McCarthy, these issues are going to come to the floor. We do not have 60 votes to get any of those issues, any of those people or the NLRB approved. And my strong suggestion, and I've made that to Majority Leader Reid and to others, is that if the Republicans want to continue to obstruct, to make it impossible for workers to get the protection that they need, it's time to change the rules and play by majority rules and have 51 votes needed to pass these very important nominees.
Blow up the filibuster, essentially. Yeah. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour, live, both of us here in Vermont. We'll be back in just a minute.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Be sure to check out Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov. We'll be back with more of Senator Sanders in just a second. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. We are live from Vermont, from Goddard College in Plainfield, Vermont, WGDR. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us, and Bob in Dearborn, Michigan, watching on Free Speech TV on the Dish satellite TV system. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, how you doing, Senator?
Good.
First, I want to point out that, because of the Republicans cutting funding to state and local governments in the last 5 years, there's been more than 700,000 government jobs lost. And the ripple effect of that is more than 2 million jobs lost overall in the government and private sector. And, now they want to, with the sequester, they're going to kill another 700,000 government jobs, which will mean another 2 million jobs lost to the economy. And my question is, what shape do you think our economy would be in if the Republicans weren't being a roadblock to economic progress?
Well, Bob, thank you for that excellent question, and you make a very, very good point. In a way that is not as fast as any of us would like, we are seeing some recovery. Unemployment is now less than it used to be. The deficit is now significantly less than it used to be. But Bob's point is an excellent point. Right now, all over this country, we are seeing less job creation than we should, and we're seeing actual cuts in education and many other public sector areas, precisely because of the sequester, as well as other government policies. The issue here, I believe, and I think the record is pretty clear on this, that when you look in Europe and you look at some of these terrible austerity measures that have been pushed there, the result is less economic growth, more unemployment, and to the degree that that has taken place in this country, it has cost us, as Bob has indicated, many, many, many jobs. And the point that I just made a moment ago is that while the deficit is still too high, we have cut that deficit in the last 4 or 5 years by some 50%. Huge reduction. Now is the time to focus on job creation. Now is the time to make sure we're not laying off teachers or Head Start workers or preventing kids from getting Head Start or getting the nutrition programs they need. And now is the time to start investing in areas like infrastructure, roads, bridges, rail, water systems, which desperately, all over this country, need to be repaired. We can put people to work doing that. Bob, I'm going to be in Michigan. I think the day is June 10th. I'm going to be there, and one of the areas that I'll be looking at is youth unemployment. While unemployment in this country is too high in general, it is much, much too high for our young people and especially for people of color. So we'll be in Michigan taking a look at youth unemployment. I think it's June 10th. But thank you very much for the call, and I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, and the one thing he mentioned is the knock-on effect. When you lay off 700,000 government employees, they're no longer buying things at their local stores.
Absolutely.
And I don't think anybody has actually been talking about the sequester and all these things. How with the ripple effect, it's actually devastating the private economy. It's causing the private sector to lay people off as well. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll be back with more of Senator Sanders in just a moment. Be sure to check out his website. You can sign up for the Bernie Buzz, a great newsletter over at sanders.senate.gov. We're broadcasting live from Goddard College in Plainfield, Vermont. We'll be right back with more Senator Sanders right after this. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you live from Goddard College in Plainfield, Vermont, just outside of our old stomping grounds in Montpelier, and, of course, Vermont, the home state of U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour, sanders.senate.gov, his website. Bernie with us taking your calls. And Jim in East Tawas, Michigan, and you were just mentioning Michigan, Bernie.
Yep.
Jim, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Tom, and hi, Senator. Bernie, the cap on the Social Security at the $113,000 now, if we just destroyed that completely and just had a flat rate tax, has any experts tried to figure out maybe we could lower it from 6.2% down to maybe 1.5% or 1% if everybody's paying in fair and square? If you make $1 million, pay your 1%. If you make $100, pay your 1%. That's fair and square. Has anybody put that together?
Yes, Jim, actually people have. Let me back up so everybody knows what Jim is talking about. Right now, Social Security, despite what you may see on TV tonight, is not going broke. Social Security has a $2.6 trillion surplus, can pay out every benefit owed to every eligible American. And I have been working very, very hard to prevent the Republicans and the President and some Democrats from imposing what is called a chain CPI, which would significantly lower cost of living adjustments over the years, such that if you're 65 today, by the time you are 75, if this so-called change CPI were to go into effect, you'd be losing about $650 a year. And that is a lot of money for people who are trying to get by on $13,000 or $14,000 a year. Now, the question that Jim is raising is, how do we make Social Security strong, not for 20 years, which is currently the case, but for 75 years, which is kind of what the actuaries like to see. They like to see that forecast that far into the future. And Jim is right on. Right now, what everybody should know is that a millionaire will pay into the Social Security Trust Fund the same amount of money as somebody who's making about $113,000. Millionaire will pay the same amount as somebody making $113,000. What Jim is saying is, if you lifted the cap, not only would you make Social Security solvent deep into the future, long into the future, but you could probably lower the rate from 6.2 to lower than that. I don't know that it could be at 1%. You could make it lower. And Jim's idea is a good idea. People have looked at it. They have costed it out. And there are some senators I know who are thinking about that. The other approach, which I am focusing on primarily because it is simpler, if you like, and I want to see something happen right now, is the following. Is by lifting the cap and not even starting at $113,000, but take that bubble up to about $250,000, and then have all taxable income on top of $250,000 taxed. If you do that, Social Security will be strong for at least the next 50 years. So the point here to be made, whatever way you go forward, do what Jim said or doing what I'm saying, is we can make Social Security strong for the indefinite future by focusing on lifting the cap and telling multimillionaires that they're going to help us with the long-term survival of Social Security.
Richard in Carlsbad, California, listening on Sirius Satellite Radio. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Good.
Tom, Senator Sanders, I want to thank both of you for your lifetime of work for the people.
Thank you.
I'd like your thoughts on an idea that I have about how to lower unemployment and create jobs. If an individual gets laid off, starts collecting unemployment, what if they were able to go to their next employer and say, okay, I can use my unemployment to pay up to half of the new job if you offer it to me?
Well, it's interesting that you raised that, Richard, that idea. And I'll tell you why I find it interesting, because I'm chairman of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, and that is very much the approach that we're trying to develop with regard to making sure that the young men and women who are returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, and in a short period we're going to have 1 million returning, and unemployment rate is much too high for them. That is exactly what we are, the approach that we're looking for young returning service members. For the general public, I would much prefer that we focus, as I mentioned a moment ago, on creating millions of jobs, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. And you can create jobs at all levels by doing that. Second of all, we can create a whole lot of jobs by starting to focus in a very, very serious way on the planetary crisis of global warming, and that means transforming our energy system away from fossil fuels and into energy efficiency and sustainable energy. So if we are building in this country and servicing and maintaining the wind turbines and the solar systems and the geothermal systems, the biomass systems that we can create, you're going to create a whole lot of jobs. And at the same time, we can, and I'm working on this as a member of the Energy Committee, a major effort toward energy efficiency. We are wasting a huge amount of money in this country, in our homes, in our schools, in our buildings, in terms of wasting just whole huge amounts of energy. And if we can help people get the upfront money that they need to make the retrofits, to save fuel, we not only cut greenhouse gas emissions, we save people money on their fuel bills, and we create jobs. So that's kind of, and the third area that I think we should focus on, and Tom and I have talked about this forever, is trade policy and how we prevent corporations from shutting down in America and moving to China and Vietnam and other low-wage countries. So that would kind of be my general focus on how we create the millions of jobs we need. In terms of veterans, however, the idea that you're talking about is exactly what we're looking at.
Senator Bernie Sanders with us here on our Brunch with Bernie National Town Hall meeting. Bernie taking your calls. Thom Hartmann here, broadcasting live from Goddard College. Tomorrow I'm keynoting the Alternative Media Conference. You can learn all about that at goddard.edu. And you can get into Senator Sanders' site at sanders.senate.gov.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
More of your calls for Bernie right after this. Be sure to check out sanders.senate.gov for the Bernie Buzz. You can sign up for it. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here live in Plainfield, Vermont on WGDR and among others all over the country. It's Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Sanders taking your call. You're here, Bernie?
Yes, Tom.
Yeah. Okay, great. Tim in Lincoln Park, Michigan. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, hi, Tom. Hi, Senator Sanders. I wanted to ask Senator Sanders, are you aware of there was a law let me start again, I'm sorry. In 1959, the Internal Revenue Service changed the word exclusively to primarily in a campaign finance law dealing with social welfare organizations.
Right.
And ever since, it's applied the word primarily to scrutinize groups that claim that are social welfare organizations.
Yes.
That might even explain why today the IRS is accused of targeting right-wing groups, because I don't think it's applying the law correctly. Are you aware of that?
I am. And you're right. And this is why I tried to suggest earlier that this is a congressional problem. And clearly, while the IRS workers who simply went after right-wing groups was wrong, the problem is that we have a word called primarily. And it gets to the whole absurdity of the current campaign finance situation. Look, here's the bottom line on this. If somebody is contributing or puts a whole lot of money into the political process, should the American people know who those folks are or who those corporations are? And the answer, to my mind, I think the overwhelming majority of Americans is yes, they should. But what you have now is this very complicated system which involves the so-called 501c4s, which is where this scandal is now located. And that is that people are putting their money into a 501c4, which is supposed to be primarily social welfare. Well, Karl Rove and other political operatives are not putting money into these organizations in order to feed the poor or house the homeless. These are strictly for political purposes, and it's a means by which you can make political contributions in secret. And the caller is absolutely right. What we need to do is clarify this situation. If you're going to be involved in politics that has nothing to do with social welfare, and that's fine, but we have to know who you are. In my view, even more important, we have to eliminate the ability of anybody in America, whether you're progressive, conservative, or whatever, from making these outrageously large contributions and buying elections, which leads us then to the need to overturn Citizens United and move to public funding of elections. But the caller is absolutely right in what he said.
Okay. Jason in Arlington, Virginia, listening on Sirius. Hey, Jason, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hey, I'm so glad that you're talking about the unemployment rate, because I'm kind of fed up with the fact that everybody's trying to cheer about these numbers being in the single digits, when the truth is obviously it's at that 14% level that you were referring to. So I want to compliment you on that. The big thing that's standing out in my mind is at this point right now, we had this big discussion about guns and dropping the number of gun deaths. And the single biggest way of dropping the number of gun deaths in the United States would be to decriminalize drugs, because the number one way people are killing themselves, aside from suicide, is inner-city drug type of transaction or killings. And I don't know why we're not focusing in on this, because there's a huge cost savings. We've got this whole prison complex going on here. We're taking the rights away from millions of Americans for something as simple as a drug that the last two presidents, if they had gotten caught, probably wouldn't have been president.
Well, James, I think you make a good point. I can tell you that the Vermont State Legislature, and they're certainly not alone, just recently passed legislation, as I understand it, would decriminalize possession of a small amount of marijuana. And I think you're going to see that trend increasing all over the country. I think your point is right that we are spending a lot of money and destroying a lot of lives by putting people who have not been involved in violent crime behind bars. So I think we have to rethink in a very significant way the entire war on drugs. So.
Okay. Gary in Evanston, Illinois, listening to WCPT. Hey, Gary, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, how are you today?
Good.
So I agree with you. I'm sorry, I'm off the speakerphone. I agree with you about raising the cap on the Social Security, especially for people who are making a big amount of money. However, there's a matching cap as a business, and as a businessman, I can pay the money, and I'm willing to, but for the business, if I have to match all that, that is a lot of money, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are about that.
Well, you make a good point, and I think that right now my focus is on individuals who have the ability to pay more, and that's where I think we should be focused.
Phil in Frankenville, New Jersey. Phil, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hey, how you doing, Tom? Hey, Mr. Sanders, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, Mr. I have two questions. One is, how come they making a big fuss about the IRS, going after these groups? But when IRS went after the NAACP and National Action Network, it was okay. And my second question is that why are they always saying that the American people want this and want that, but yet the Republicans don't do what the American people want? So why don't they just get them a new saying that the American people they represent are the rich?
Well, I think you raised two good points. To the best of my knowledge, and I don't have that paper in front of me, you are right in that in the past we have seen the kind of abuse that we are seeing now. Now it's been going after conservative groups, but it has gone after liberal groups like the NAACP, who have also been audited. The bottom line there clearly is that IRS policy has got to be neutral. It's got to be across the board, and you don't go after liberal groups or conservative groups. Treat all groups the same. But I think the caller is right in saying that in years past, there has been concern about groups like the NAACP being audited. His second question is Republicans talk about representing all of the people when in fact they end up representing the very wealthy, and I think that's exactly correct. What is very interesting, Tom, is the issues that you and I talk about economic justice, about creating jobs, about a fair tax policy, about protecting Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. These are not just ideas that you and I agree on or some of our callers agree on. These are ideas that poll after poll after poll the American people agree with us on. So if you ask the American people, would you rather see taxes being raised for upper-income people or cuts in Social Security and Medicare, the answer is just overwhelming in terms of protecting Social Security and Medicare. It is very distressing to me how rarely Congress is actually listening to the American people, even in the issue of deficit reduction, which I believe is an important issue. Compared to job creation, you know what the American people say? Spend more time making sure that we have jobs in this country. That's a higher priority than deficit reduction, clearly in the current Congress, especially among the Republicans. it is not a priority at all. So I think the caller makes a very important point.
Danette in Hinesville, Georgia. Danette, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Tom. I actually have to go. My daughter is having a nosebleed. So.
Oh, my. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yes, thanks. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Danette. All right, let's go to Daniel in Dallas, Texas.
That's
Daniel,
what I love about
the
show. This is real life, right?
Yeah, this is real life. It really is.
Kids have nosebleeds.
Live radio and TV. Daniel in Dallas, Texas. You're on the air with Bernie.
I appreciate the opportunity. Senator Sanders, I wonder if you could speak on Elizabeth Warren's bill to lower student loan rates to 0.75%, the same rate that the insolvent zombie banks are borrowing at the Fed's discount window. This seems to be a profoundly amazing idea, not only because it will offer relief to students who are taking out new Stafford loans, but also it forces the Federal Reserve to begin lending to the American people rather than to just the banks. So I wonder if you could speak on that bill.
Well, Daniel, the only thing that gets me upset about this legislation is that Elizabeth thought of it and I didn't. That's my only concern. It's a great idea for the reason that you've just mentioned. In fact, we had talked about it in my office a while ago, and Elizabeth did exactly the right thing, and it makes 2 points. First of all, I could tell you what you already know, that the issue of student loans nationally is a very, very serious problem. All over this country, we're seeing young people deciding not to go to college because they don't want to come out of school, $40,000 or $50,000 in debt. In the state of Vermont, kids are coming out of college about $28,000 in debt, which is just a hair higher than the national average. And this is an awful problem. And I think what Senator Warren's legislation does two things. Number one, it's going to protect working families and make sure that they don't come out of debt, don't come out of school so deeply in debt. And second of all, it does raise the question that Daniel just asked. How is it that large financial institutions can borrow money for 1% or whatever it is, while students have got to borrow money at many, many, many times that rate? So I think Senator Warren's idea is an excellent idea, and I look forward to working with her to make that fight.
Bravo. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. It's our national town hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie, here on the Thom Hartmann Program, taking your calls for Bernie. And live from Goddard College. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
For more about the conference that I'm speaking at here at Goddard, check out goddard.edu, and to subscribe, to sign up for the Bernie Buzz, Bernie's newsletter, go to sanders.senate.gov. And welcome back. Steve in McDonald, Tennessee, watching Free Speech TV on the Dish TV satellite network. You are on the air with Senator Sanders. Steve?
Hello?
Steve, I can hardly hear you. Hello? Steve, I'm going to have to ask you to call back. I think your phone is failing. Let's try John in Exeter, New Hampshire. Watch on freespeechtv.org. John, you're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Hello, Senator Sanders. First of all, thank you for your defense of key issues that affect us as ordinary citizens. I have a couple of ideas that probably haven't been addressed, one of which is a huge problem in our energy use. The DOE and Lawrence Livermore does a analysis of U.S. energy use every year. The last one was for 2011. They have a category called rejected energy that's over 57% of our total energy use. That's high temperature energy that's used for industrial processes like coal-fired plants generating electricity. If we could recapture just half of that to use at lower temperatures like space heating, using water heating, that sort of thing, that would that's more than 50% of what we use in all of our industrial and residential use of heating. So we could wipe out half of our industrial and residential use of heating by just recycling. And the other issue is...
your question, John.
Well, John makes a good point, and I'm not all that familiar with it, but I think John makes a very good point, and it is something that we need to do research and development on. John, your second question was, or a second point?
Oh, I'm sorry, John dropped.
Did we lose him?
I'm
okay.
sorry.
But John makes a good point, and that is, and by the way, one of the concerns, when we talk about sequestration and cuts in federal spending, it's not just the obvious in terms of throwing kids off a Head Start or cutting back on the Meals on Wheels program and all of these other cutbacks which impact some of the most vulnerable people in this country. There are other areas where cutbacks are taking place. John basically raises an important issue, is how do we make our energy system more energy efficient? He points out about a lot of waste. Well, we need some research into that area. At the end of the day, that research can come up with breakthroughs that will save us huge amounts of money, many times more than we invest. But if we cut back on research and development, we're not going to get that. And that's just another casualty of some of these short-sighted sequestration programs.
We have 45 seconds, Bernie. It's not just sequestration, though, is it? I mean, it's this entire austerity agenda that the Republican Party seems to be promoting.
And I did want to mention something. A caller a few minutes ago talked about an appreciation that we focus on, you and I focus on employment issues and the high rate of unemployment. What is not often focused on is if you isolate one category of worker, people with high school degrees alone, the degree to which that group of people haven't gone to college, they have been impacted in recent years is just unbelievable. And their earnings have gone way, way down. Between 1969 and 2009, median earnings for male high school graduates plummeted by almost 50%. How's that?
50%? 5-0?
5-0.
Wow. That's amazing. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. We'll be back with more of your calls for Bernie and Brunch with Bernie here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Live from Vermont. Ten minutes before the hour, Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls, our national town hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie, and Ethan in New York City, New York. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello?
Hello.
You're on the air.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just listening to your callers, and I pretty much gathered up a lot of that. I came with one question, but I gathered up with a lot of things I wanted to say. But first thing is the black unemployment. You were talking about how the unemployment numbers in the black community is all no matter which president we have, unemployment in the black community is going to be high.
Yep.
My thing is, what can a politician or anybody do to make employers hire more black people? Because my community is really hurting out there, no matter what the numbers are, and no one wants to really talk about that. No one wants to bring that question up. I watch MSNBC all the time, and Fox News isn't going to say anything about it.
Right.
But no one is going to, no one brings that up. And another thing, the other question, it was not really a question, but this whole thing about the drug war and all this other stuff about people trying to legalize marijuana, like the gun thing, these people don't come to the ghettos to see what what marijuana is doing to our young people. No one is coming to the black neighborhoods to see what it's doing to our young people, and they want to talk about legalizing it because they just want to get high. I've heard that they have marijuana in pill form now, so there's no excuse anymore for them to try to legalize it. My thing is, don't legalize it, but do what they did with cigarettes. Well, not necessarily with cigarettes, but completely don't try to arrest people that have weed on them anymore. Just fine them. High fines. That way, if they have a weed on them, just give them a big, like a $2,000 fine for every bag of weed they have on them. That'll stop people from smoking it.
Yep. I think there's in terms of your last point, there is a movement in that direction. And one of the reasons for that is that states can no longer afford to be locking up large numbers of people who were found guilty of possessing drugs. So it becomes an economic issue for states. The second point in terms of black unemployment, the point that I was making is unemployment in the nation is much, much too high. But there are certain groups of people, young people in general, African American and minority groups in general, the numbers are much, much higher. And we have got to focus on those types of communities and create jobs. You will recall that some years ago we used to have something that I thought was very useful. It worked in Vermont and it worked all over the country, and that is summer youth employment programs. Republicans killed that effort, and that means in the summertime you're going to have a whole lot of kids sitting around with nothing to do, not earning any income, and probably in some cases getting themselves into trouble. So we're going to be working with some other senators on a youth employment bill, figuring out ways that we can make sure that kids are earning some income, doing something meaningful, learning some skills. And I think in the long run, that concept will pay for itself many times over.
John in Corning, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, Mr. Sanders. I was just curious about what your thoughts are and what you're doing about people 55 and older and these companies not hiring them. I just watched a program, or when I actually was on PBS, they ran a thing, I think it was on May 3rd, about it. And I forget what the numbers were, but it was quite alarming.
It is, John. And what you got going there is it is no great secret. I didn't see the program, but I know the issue. And the issue is that if you have worked for a company for 20 or 30 years, you're going to be making more money than other people in the company. And especially also when you retire, I mean, you may be eligible for some retirement benefits. And it is no great secret that some unscrupulous companies all over this country are firing people who are 55, hiring people who are 23 at half the wages. Companies save substantial sums of money. Now, as a matter of fact, that's against the law. It's called, discrimination. We have laws to protect older workers, but sometimes companies are able to get around those laws. So, number one, we have to enforce the law against age discrimination. That's about all that I can say on that. It is a real, real tragedy, because if you have somebody who's 55 who loses a decent-paying job, there is a strong likelihood that individual will never again find a job paying anywhere near the income that he or she is currently earning. And they will maybe find another job at half the income, and that's a terrible way to end one's work life.
Yeah. Bernie, just 2 minutes left. We could possibly squeeze in a call, or you could give us your thoughts on the week.
Well, there's going to be a lot of action next week in the Senate. The Ag bill is coming to the floor. Senator Stabenow of Michigan is chairman of the Ag Committee, and against very difficult odds, she has produced the bill, and it's not as strong as any of us would like, because you've got to deal with Republicans here. But you got a good vote out of the committee. It'll come to the floor. One of the issues that I will focus, there are a couple of issues that we'll be working on. We're going to try, in the bill, she had to make some cuts in the food stamp program, much, much less than what the Republicans in the House want to do. They want to make devastating cuts. But I think at a time when unemployment is so high and poverty is so high, we don't want to see an increase in hunger in America, so we'll try to deal with that issue. The second issue deals with genetically modified food. As you know, Tom, throughout Europe, the countries in Europe make sure that people have labeling, which will identify food products that are genetically modified. I think we should at least allow states in this country to do the same, and right now that is not the case. So last year I offered an amendment on that issue, and this year I will do the same. That's coming up next week. I suspect, not 100% sure, that not long after that, the immigration bill will be coming up. That's a huge bill, worthy of a lot more discussion than we can do right now. But one of the things that concerns me are the guest worker programs that could bring in just hundreds of thousands of foreign workers into this country at a time when unemployment here is much too high. So that's an issue we have to focus on as well.
Bernie, thanks so much for being with us today.
Okay, my pleasure, and welcome back to Vermont, I should say.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Senator Bernie Sanders. We'll be right back.